Well, he was begging. Robert Costas, national political reporter for the Washington Post and an MSNBC political analyst. David Corn. Haven't seen you in a while. Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones and an MSNBC political analyst. And Matt Schlapp is the chairman of the American Conservative Union, which is hosting CPAC this weekend, the Conservative Political Action Conference. Actually, I've spoken there myself at one point. I won't be there for a while, though. And that's coming up this Saturday. We'll be covering that, among other things, when we cover the primaries this Saturday on MSNBC later that night. Let me go to Robert on this one. Robert, I don't know, but I think he benefits, Trump does, with all his mixed nature, and he is a mixed bag at best or at worst. He seems to benefit from his enemies. These guys are like the old Joe Louis opponents he would knock out every month. I mean, I'm sorry, the Pope wasn't a good adversary for him, nor is Vicente Fox, nor was Jeb Bush, and now the loser. I mean, a certified loser has come back like a dead cat in from the rain, or a wet cat in from the rain, I should say, to rejoin it with the obvious ambition of the people finally going to him. What other reason could Mitt Romney have for bringing the teleprompters out with the script he's just unleashed? Your thoughts?
Speaking to Trump allies today, they feel pretty good. They think in Romney they have an easy foil, someone they can batter in the coming days. But there is some private concern.
Mr. 47%, yeah.
But the worry in Trump's orbit is that Romney provides the anti-Trump movement with a face, some coherence, an argument, and it's been an incoherent movement for quite some time.
Well, I think it's still incoherent because Romney's not a hawk. All the other hawks are, the neocons are all circling, too. There's still a lot of factions out there that are all losing and all mad. David Corn.
I mean, there's a cleavage line in the Republican Party and the conservative movement. Do you accept Trump or do you oppose Trump? And even on each side of that equation, particularly on the against Trump, they can't come up with a course of action, what to do, who to support. Romney, very interesting.
Are they to the left or right of him? The opposition. I can't even
well, Trump is a mishmash. He's running as a conservative populist, but he wants to protect Social Security. He wants to give health care to all.
He's for Planned Parenthood.
So he's all, and he's against the trade deals that the conservative business types like. He's all over. But today, Romney said, don't pick a better candidate. Vote strategically. Vote against Trump. In any state, vote for the number 2 guy. What does that give you? A deadlock convention. Who benefits from a deadlock convention? None of the people running. Yeah. But someone on the outside might. And who might that be?
Yeah, Mitt Romney. Let me go to Matt Schlapp, because you know you're part of your conservative side of the things. What do conservatives think? I think most conservatives, who are true blues, are still with Cruz. But tell me, what's this Mitt Romney guy out saying he's going to now speak for everybody in the party, including conservatives, against Trump?
Yeah, I don't really understand it, Chris. I mean, we just had the Nevada primary that has a big LDS population. They very much love Mitt Romney. Why didn't he speak up then? Why is he speaking up so late now? Here's the reason I think it is. These super PACs, these anti-Trump super PACs have been established. And I think this was the call for all the moneyed folks to start writing checks for the super PACs. I think this is a last-ditch financial effort to do everything they can to stop Trump.
You know, sometimes you think, as much as I got problems with Trump, he ain't so bad compared to this crowd. This is money people talking. They're afraid their money's at risk, right?
Well, yeah. Well,
isn't that it? It's about big money, but 1% is now speaking.
And up to now, the billionaire donors of the GOP have not wanted to go after Trump. They don't want to get in a fight with him. They don't want to be brought out into the spotlight, into the light the way he would. And they've all been waiting for, like all the candidates were, waiting for someone else to go first. And it's gotten way too late for their money to make much of an impact. Right. And they're going to bet it all on Florida.
Okay, let me go back to Robert on this. Robert, and then to Matt. Same question. People vote because they care enough to do their duty as citizens. In primaries, they tend to add to that with some political passion for somebody. They fall in love or they fall in line. Something drives them into that voting with men and women to actually vote for someone. How do you teach people to do something completely against that instinct and say, don't vote for this guy when you go to vote. Don't vote for anybody else. I don't know how you train people to think like that. Because voting can be a pain sometimes, and it's complicated for some people who have to work 8 hours a day, pretty far from where they vote. So they may have to make an effort after work or before work. They don't have their own businesses. So you tell the person to go out of your way. Oh, by the way, just don't vote for Trump. That doesn't sound like the usual American way to vote. You're thinking.
Yeah, I agree with that, Chris. I think that the problem they have right now is that you know, you have Cruz and you have Marco, the two most likely alternatives to Trump. You know, until they decide which one is staying in and being that alternative, this idea that anyone is an alternative to Trump only benefits Trump. And here's one thing that Trump is doing that the others are failing to do, is that he's simply talking to people out there in the country. And they're trying to talk to all these people inside the Beltway to get them to write checks. They're focused to the wrong group. They should be focused in on these states, talking to voters, and they're caught up in the wrong, they're focusing on the wrong election.
Robert, what do you think? How do you get people to vote not for somebody? Remember that old line about Nixon's? He told the Pat Buchanan, I think I've told you, whenever you hear of a Stop X movement, vote for X or bet on X. Because it's very hard to stop somebody once they're there, because they're usually almost to the barn by the time you say stop.
And it's very hard. You look at past stop movements. You think of Stop Carter. It didn't work. It was an outsider coming in '76. Some of the establishment Democrats didn't like it. I think with Trump, Stop Trump, it's a very difficult proposition, because when you go out there on the campaign trail, these Trump voters are not rank-and-file Republicans. These are people who are not persuaded by the party elites. They're coming out. They may have sat on the sidelines through the Bush era, through the Obama era, and to say to them now to sit back and make some kind of different calculation for the good of the party, well, this is a party they don't have much stake in.
Well, here's Romney, what he had to say about his plan, by the way. Here he is.
If the other candidates can find some common ground, I believe we can nominate a person who can win the general election and who will represent the values and policies of conservatism. Given the current delegate selection process, that means that I'd vote for Marco Rubio in Florida, and for John Kasich in Ohio, and for Ted Cruz, or whichever one of the other two contenders has the best chance of beating Mr. Trump in state.
There he is. You know, it doesn't sound like democracy. I don't know what it sounds like. It sounds like the mullahs in Iran.
Well, it sounds like calculation, and there is a degree of phoniness to this. I mean, Mitt Romney warmly embraced Donald Trump 4 years ago when he was already...
He did get down on his knees. He really did seek the money.
When he was a birther. And,
he went all the way out to Vegas to do it.
And Trump raised money for him, and 90% of what he said that he didn't like about Donald Trump today was present in 2012. And so the Republican Party have played footsie with him, and all the politics of hate.
Okay.
You know, we've been talking about this for the last 8 years, Chris, and now they're saying he's beyond the pale. They created the pale.
Let me tell you, Matt, why I'm enjoying this. Because for years, the Republican Party, the wealthy people in the Republican Party, and the ideologues have enjoyed picking up and recruiting. And there's nothing wrong with this. The working class white people, the regular people out there that don't have money, the cloth coat Republicans, they've gone after them and said, you know, we can use your help as sort of our alliance, you know, our whatever. And we'll take your votes. But don't tell us who to pick as presidential nominee. Oh, no, you can't do that. You can't pick somebody like Trump because your job is to go along with the Romneys of the world and the Doles of this world and the W's of this world. Your job is to provide us with our little extra white vote, if you will, for a victory. You're not supposed to make a decision. Well, now they've made a decision. To me, I actually have some sympathy for Trump now, because all of a sudden I realize democracy, for whatever it is at least democracy. It's not this thing they're talking about.
Well, you might be... Chris, you might be enjoying this. The rest of us really aren't enjoying this. And you might have been to CPAC before, and you have been to CPAC before, because we do let people from all persuasions speak here, including members of the media. But at the end of the day, Mitt Romney speaking to conservatives.
On Clinton's behavior in the White House. That's why you have me there. Don't kid yourself.
That's right.
It wasn't because you were reaching out with diversity. I just thought Clinton wasn't telling the truth about you know what. But go ahead.
Hey, Chris, we just hope we don't have to live through that all over again. But the fact is this, for Mitt Romney to think that he's speaking to conservatives, for Mitt Romney to think he's the one to speak to conservatives, the type of people that are in this hall tonight, and that he will convince them to go someplace, it just shows that they have just a lack of understanding of where the party is. They actually don't want to hear from people Mitt Romney. They might like him and respect him and think he's a good man, but he's not the man of the moment. And I think that's what all these old-time Republican leaders just simply don't get.
I just want to go back to Robert, because we always like getting Robert. What do you see as the next step? If the Romney thing doesn't work, what's their next step? I mean, it seems like they're just flying around here, flaying around for a way to stop. If he wins Michigan next Tuesday, if he wins Ohio, or two of the three, Ohio, Florida, and Michigan, he's still on a roll, isn't he?
they saw today's speech not just as an indictment of Trump, but as a start possibly of a Romney draft movement. They think Romney's putting himself out there to help his party, but to also remind them that back in 2015, he teased a run, said he was maybe interested in a third bid, and he seems to be doing so again in the minds of many donors.
So he'll have a campaign that leads to the convention but skips the primaries.
On the floor, second ballot.
Last time that happened was when?
It was very rare. It's a very long time ago.
1952, Adlai Stevenson in Chicago, who gave the welcoming speech as governor of Illinois, and beat Kefauver, even though he had never run in the primaries. But there was
a big battle between Bob Taft and Eisenhower that same year.
But Eisenhower won the New Hampshire primary, did very well in Minnesota, went out there, met the people, and defeated Robert Taft in the field. I don't think the American people are ready for a candidate of a party that hasn't won the primaries. Thank you, Robert Costa. And thank you, David Corn, and thank you, Matt Schlapp.